I'm very grateful to have Tim Taylor, president and co-founder of America Succeeds, on the call. And Tim, I was trying to remember, but I think we've just known each other forever, so I can't remember when and how we first got connected. But I have really enjoyed your work on durable skills and really excited to dig in with you. And then also have Vinny Caricato. Am I saying that correctly, Vinny? Who is a newer friend. We got to know each other about 2 years ago, Vinny. And Vinny leads the KIPP Forward work for KIPP Colorado, helping prepare all the young people for developing a sense of purpose, building durable skills, exploring different careers, and then making a strong post-secondary next step, whatever that might be for them. And today we're going to be digging into like why durable skills matter. What are durable skills? How should we be thinking about that? And in today's world where the labor market, and especially the entry-level labor market, is shifting so rapidly, what does that mean for all of us who care a lot about how to prepare young people to be successful humans in that context? And to be a successful human, I believe you have to have a sense of purpose. You have to have a community. You have to have a job that leads to a thriving wage where you can afford to have a family and a house. And we care a lot. I know all of us care a lot about that, both for all kids and especially for students who historically have not had that opportunity or been further from that opportunity based on where they are growing up. And so that's our plan for today. If you don't know me, I know many folks on the call, but not certainly not everyone. I'm James. I'm the founder and CEO of Willow Education. We are a curriculum and a platform that supports young people in finding their purpose, exploring different careers, and finding a great post-secondary next step. Oops.
Oh, you dropped all the way.
I'm back. I'm sorry.
Oh, there you go.
Oh,
We
were gonna go rogue without you.
There's snow squalls in Vermont today, so we had a 2-hour school delay, and there was coffee and stuff from the fridge all over my house by the end of that 2 hours, and of course my internet doesn't work. So apologies for that. Where did I cut off, Tim?
You were just about to ask a question, I think. Get us going.
Yes. Okay, great. So Tim, could you introduce yourself and share what led you to both start America Succeeds and then led you to this durable skills work? I earlier this week dubbed you the godfather of durable skills, and I don't know if you accept that title or not, but if you could give us a little bit of the background and why someone might think that, that'd be helpful.
I love it. I'm gonna have to insert Snoop in my name in some way as the dogfather. It's great to see you as always, and this crew. Welcome everybody. If you're not familiar with America Succeeds and our work, I think what we're best known for over the past few years has been our work around durable skills. And to just tee things up before we even get into sort of the background and the history of it, when we're talking about durable skills, we're talking about two things. One is how you use what you know: critical thinking, collaboration, communication. And then the second part of it is how you show up in the world: your leadership, your metacognition, your growth mindset, those types of things. Some people call these soft skills, essential skills, 21st century skills. There's all kinds of names that go around them. We refer to them as durable skills because employers really don't like the term soft skills. These skills are anything but soft. These are actually probably the most important skills in today's economy to get somebody to be able to get and keep a job. And we've got a lot of research that points to that. So at America Succeeds, what we do is we work with a lot of employers who are telling us what they're looking for young people to be able to get, keep, and have a job that they can create exactly what James talked about, so that they can participate in the economy, that they can live in a community, and they can be productive. And very few kids retire coming out of high school. So we're really talking about every kid. However we talk about the talent pipeline, every kid's going to need a job at some point. So this is important for every kid. And what we've done with the work around analyzing employer demand is we partnered with MC Burning Glass, and we analyzed in job descriptions to see what employers are asking for. And durable skills are 8 of the top 10 most in-demand skills across every job, across every geography, across every industry, regardless of education attainment level. They're the second rung on the career ladder. So even if you can get your foot in the door at a company, you're not able to stay in the room unless you can develop and demonstrate these durable skills. And my favorite anecdote that over the last couple of years around this is talking to a lot of community colleges, continuing ed programs. And I think it's such an important point, and it's such an interesting spot to make, because continuing ed is this spot where somebody is trying to get a certificate and immediately change their career trajectory. So there's no gap in between. It's not a 4-year where you got to wait 4 years to get your degree. It's not when you're in 9th grade and you still have to finish high school and go on. This is like really compressed time. And what the employers tell those community colleges and certificate programs, as they're handing the certificate to the people who are crossing the stage, the employers say, I will hire your worst welder, phlebotomist, cybersecurity specialist, whatever it is, with durable skills over the best welder without them. And there's like, that's the tweet, right? Like, that's the thing that shows that everybody's going to need some combination of technical and durable skills over the course of their career. And right now, one of the biggest skills gaps that we're seeing across the country and among employers tends to be on the durable skills side, not the technical skills side. And many of you have probably heard an employer say, give me somebody who can think critically, collaborate, and has a growth mindset, and I'll teach them what they need to know. Nobody ever says, give me somebody who knows everything, but is a total jerk and can't show up at work on time and can't collaborate with anything, and I'll teach them those skills. That has never been said by an employer ever before. And I think that just sort of underscores why these are so important. And now the conversation and the topic, and what I'm eager to dig in with everybody, is, how do we do that? How do you develop these skills? Do you demonstrate them? How do you signal to an employer? And lots to get into on that.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Tim. I love, I'm a simple guy, so I love the simple framework of use what you know, and also how you show up. That matters a lot. And for young people I know today, like, convincing them that they need to show up is step one of using those durable skills. Maybe that's a good segue. Vinny, why don't you tell me about your role that you're leading at KIPP Forward for KIPP Colorado, and what's driving your work right now? What are you seeing in schools today?
Yeah. First of all, thank you all for being here today and being with us. Literally, I love everything that Tim was saying. So I'm like, oh, that's what we're preparing for. That's what we're working towards. So, again, everyone, my name is Vinny Caricato, and I serve as the director of KIPP Forward for KIPP Colorado schools. I've been in this role for a little over 2 years, but been in the work for 12 here in Colorado along the Front Range, centered around college access for students. So ultimately, like the reason why I got into this work is to ultimately, like, break the cycle of poverty within our communities. And we know that college and career access is the path for students to lead a sustainable life that's going to lead to a quality job that's going to pay benefits, all the things on that end. And for us, we know that here in Denver, 75% of the jobs that pay a livable wage require some sort of training or certification. And ultimately for us, we want to make sure that our students are prepared for a choice-filled life after graduation. And a lot of the work, and why I chose to come to KIPP to do this work here specifically, is we have the opportunity to, like, work with our students early on. Whether it be in middle school or with our new programming, which we'll talk later on with our 9th and 10th graders, but to develop those skills with students, to get them really thinking about utilizing those durable skills and what it means for them and how they can use that throughout their academic journey, but also as they're starting to apply for internships, for summer programs, and then eventually towards college or training programs, whatever it is they're choosing to go into. And within our work here in KIPP Colorado, we really want to work with as many partners as possible to create those opportunities for our students, because we know that, like, for our students within KIPP Colorado, majority of our students are free and reduced lunch, students of color. Most of them have high financial need. So it's educating them with a lot of those skills and resources that they just don't necessarily have in their back pocket due to just generational things as well too. So we want to make sure we're being really intentional about our programming on that end, because at the end of the day, as they're heading into the job market or into competitive scholarship programs or colleges, our students really need to understand how to move through these really complex systems that weren't necessarily set up for them. So that way they're able to put their best foot forward and compete with everyone else for quality jobs and quality options. So grateful for the work that we get to do here at KIPP Colorado, and I'll share some more on what we're doing to prepare our students. But yes, a lot of really exciting things, and with an ever shifting world around us, from the emergence of AI to the emergence of the cost of college and all the things on that end. We've had to be really adaptive and be really intentional about our program with our students. That way they're able to navigate that complex world along with their families as well too.
Thanks so much, Vinny. I love the stat you raised is a super important one, that 76% of good jobs require some sort of post-secondary credential. And so that's why your work matters a lot, to help students navigate those systems, which are typically super hard to navigate. And I love that vision of a choice-filled life for every kid. That's certainly what we all want. Tim, first, little housekeeping here, since I got cut off by my internet earlier. Webinars run the risk of being boring. And certainly that's on us, the facilitators, but also on the community and guests. I find it's a lot more fun to interrupt, to put questions in the chat, to come off mute and dive in and let's make this a conversation so it's not boring. I also respect the fact that some people are off camera and having lunch right now. So do what's right for you, but help us make this relevant and fun for your work. I'd like to do these because I love to connect big thinkers and policy leaders like Tim down to the ground, and some of the best practitioners like Vinny. And we've got a ton of practitioners in the room, and thinking about how do we translate great ideas and great research and policy into practice is what I see as somewhere where I can help and offer a contribution. So with that, Tim, tell us a little bit more about the journey of how did you actually build the durable skills? And then what's different today than it was 4 years ago when you built this for the first time? That's like a nudge towards AI, I think, but take that where you want.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Yeah. So, right, the world's changing pretty quick. So we've got a lot of clarity around where we're going, but not much certainty. And I think that that's the best way to approach this work. If I would never bet on where we're going to be in 2 years. And I think that, that's a tough way to prepare kids for a world where you don't know what it's going to look like. Durable skills is a really good place to be. And so that's what we keep hearing from employers. And that's, it's easier for school systems. You have somebody walk in and they're from healthcare and they say every kid needs to have a healthcare background, or somebody else walks in from manufacturing, every kid needs a STEM background. Or the school systems can't respond to that, right? Look at the amount of stuff you have on your plate. So the foundational skills, these durable skills, is a really solid spot, and something that I think our school systems can deliver on in spades. And so how do we react from that? So this really came out of employers who kept saying, just give us kids that have these types of skills and we will figure a lot of this out. Now, I always put a caveat. Look, if you're building a bridge or flying an airplane, I hope you have really, really good technical skills to be able to do those things. There are a bunch of things in the world. I've talked to a number of people, and one of my favorite conversations was with the state superintendent, and I was talking about all of these things, and they said, it's just occurring to me, I actually don't have many technical skills. I'm just loaded on the durable skills front. And I think there's a bunch of us who have built pretty solid careers with really strong durable skills and not as many technical skills. But there's not a job in the US there's not a job in the world, I would hazard to say, that isn't a combination of these two things. And it's how we sort of balance those and what the individual wants to do with their talents. This all comes out of these employers saying we need these things. And so we scanned these job descriptions to look at what employers were asking for. And it's pretty clear they need these durable skills in just about every role there is. And there's some McKinsey report out there that says if you look at the income quartiles, the higher you move in the income quartile, the more of your day is spent using durable skills. And down at early stage, low income jobs, it's more rote, and they're the things that you don't need as many of the durable skills. There's nothing that doesn't need any, but the more you have, the more you're going to advance in terms of income, which I think is super powerful. And so we worked with CompTIA early on to identify what young people should be able to know and do. So I encourage everybody to take a look at the pathsmith.org. Pathsmith is anybody who forges a pathway for young people using these durable skills. We have a wheel on that site that a lot of educators really like. You can print that wheel off of the website, hang that in a classroom, and point to some of these skills that young people are needing to develop. And it's how we're developing these that I think is really interesting. And James, the biggest thing from the early conversations to now that has changed, one is AI actually requires more of these skills, not less. I'd point out that soft skills was a term that came out of the US Army in the 60s, and it was any job that didn't work with machinery. The irony of that is that in today's world, durable skills is how you will work with the machinery of AI moving forward. It's how you think critically and ask good questions and know good information from bad. So this has really come full circle. What we saw with education systems early on is we were talking about these skills and that young people needed critical thinking. Many school systems would say to us, well, there's just not enough time in the day to add a critical thinking course. And I think that's so steeped in the box of a Carnegie unit, which I get. But we had an employer at one of these business and education meetings who said, with all due respect, you don't think critically from 11 to 11:50 and then go to math. Right? We should be thinking critically all day long. We should be collaborating in every class we've got. We should be developing a growth mindset. And this is the thing I think that we've seen some movement in the education system about the opportunity to put these skills in every class, and that whatever the curriculum is, you can still develop durable skills while you're doing that. And I think that what's really important about that is I would hazard for anybody who has kids, or if you were a kid, we developed a lot of these skills. At least I'm old enough that back in the day, we were feral. We would come home from school and we would go out and play all day long because we didn't have video games. And your buddy would tell you you're being a jerk, and you had to collaborate and you had to work with them. Or we went to sports programs or music or church or had good dinner table conversation or maybe a little bit of travel because we were fortunate. And that's where we developed our durable skills. And there's a big chunk of the population that doesn't have that opportunity, but 100% of them are going to school. So there's a huge opportunity for us to make sure that we're developing these skills in schools. And the shift that more and more people are saying, yes, we can do this, is probably, James, even with AI and the others, it's the most exciting trend that we're seeing of school systems saying, of course we can do that while we teach the other things. And as much as we ask of teachers and you all in your roles, and I'm so impressed with all of it, this should be one where it's not asking more, it's just doing it a little different.
Totally. What we see with a lot of our partners, and Vinny, going to ask you about your experience here in a second, is this is the stuff that most educators want to teach. Like, this is why they got into teaching, to help people understand who they are, what their values are, what they care about, and then how to show up in the world in a powerful way. And so being able to offer that is exciting. So that your point resonates for me. Vinny, I'm curious, like this year you made a pretty bold bet. You said 9th and 10th grade, we're not doing enough. We'd like to do something different and more. Bring us into the problem you were noticing, and then tell us what you've done. And then, like, let's be super candid. Like, what's working well about that so far? We're in the second inning, and where do you want to push, and and drive that and what needs to improve.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, thank you. And I think this also like ties in really well to what you were saying, Tim. That those durable skills aren't taught every day, but within class, or at least like not throughout the whole day. And that was really the intention that we wanted to address with our ninth and 10th graders specifically. So for a little bit more context, our programming within KIPP Forward, which is our post-secondary career readiness within KIPP. We have a pretty robust programming that we do with our juniors and seniors, where they have a junior and senior seminar where they're in there every day with our post-secondary counselors, doing a lot of that work to get them prepared for life after high school. But what we noticed within that is by the time students got to us in their junior year, there was a lot of things that they were missing, a lot of those durable skills, a lot of just a lot of work that needed to be done earlier on to prepare them to have those um, tough conversations, like centered around like, what is right for me? What am I good at? Like, how can I really think through utilizing my skills to form that post-secondary pathway for myself? And this was also a big part of like a listening tour that I did with both our campuses, from teachers, from staff, from students, as well as like what are they wanting more of in their experience. And um, almost all of them says like, I don't feel like a lot of things that we're getting is really preparing us for life after high school outside of the walls. And what we really noticed is that students really struggle with talking about themselves, advocating for themselves, those interpersonal skills, those communication skills that are really valuable for them. One, like not just being ready for like college and everything on that end, but to even just like be prepared for jobs, for internships, to be able to advocate for themselves and get themselves out there. Because a lot of like what we do in the high school side of things is also like we're helping them. We're, for lack of a better term, kind of holding their hands through a lot of things, and then when we send them out into the world, they're on their own. They don't have that support, and they really don't feel confident in being able to navigate that world. And that's where we really wanted to be more comprehensive and more thorough with our programming, and we really wanted to be intentional about our programming for ninth and 10th grade specifically as they enter into high school. They're coming off being middle schoolers and they're learning how to be young adults. We really want to be intentional about that time to where students can really start doing those things, and working on those durable skills that are going to lead to some really successful, meaningful work that we do in junior and senior year that's going to lead to some really awesome outcomes for our students when they graduate. So this year we partnered with James and Willow Ed and Jamie as well, to work on some pretty innovative and really cool programming for our and kind of couple that with like some things within the school too, centered around academic health and students understanding the importance of GPA, the importance of test scores, and the opportunities that those afford students when they get into their junior and senior year, that they're ready to apply for those programs, like be competitive for those programs, because we have a ton of amazing students and they're just wonderful. But by the time they get to that point, they just don't have some of that foundation and some of those skills to be confident to be able to navigate those realms. So we've really enjoyed and really have loved the opportunity to work with our freshmen and sophomores earlier in their journey. And so much so that I actually met with our team yesterday. I was like, all right, let's just talk a little bit right at the end of our semester here right now. And like what are we noticing like with the students? And one of the things that I noted when I was in there, so like every time I walk into that classroom, the students are engaged. The students are conversing with each other, they're interacting, and they're actually utilizing those skills that they're learning there in the classroom, not only in our classroom, but it's also translating into the English classroom, the math classroom, even PE, that kind of stuff. We're definitely seeing a notable change in our students, and also a notable change in the students' GPA as well too, because a goal that we have for all of our ninth grade students is 50% of them have above a 3.0 GPA by the end of the year. Right now, we're on track for that, which is awesome. So even just like being able to be intentional about our conversations and be intentional about the students having self-advocacy for their own academic journey and their own professional journey just really has improved with the investment for students in their own education in general. Because we hear a lot from students too. They're just like, how is this going to prepare me for the world, like for the job or for my career, or like whatever it is I'm going into. We have the answers for that in our 9th and 10th grade seminar. And the students are really understanding that now and are more bought into their academic experience because of that. Now we definitely I've learned a lot along the way. And I think that and what's been awesome is being able to work with Jamie and James and to be kind of like intentional about how we kind of adjust some of our programming. But it's led to a lot of really cool ideas and a lot of cool involvement within our school for our students to be able to start engaging earlier on with our community within careers, within internships. We have students that are interested in applying for summer programs now, things like that, which are really cool. Like one of the big things that the seminars are working on right now is a big community service project, making it a requirement for our students to get out in the community and get involved in a cause that they feel is important within our community, which is what we want. We want our students to be good stewards of our community and to be involved and to be advocates. But that's also building up those durable skills and helping them understand how to apply those within a lot of the different things that we're doing. So it's been really exciting. It's been really fun to be in there and I just see the students engaging in a different way that they haven't in the past through our programming. And I'm excited to continue that and see how that really translates into them becoming juniors. And as we start talking about colleges and getting them to apply, but also like how that translates to all the other departments within the school, math, English. So it's been a really, really cool experience. And I think that it's only going to benefit our students in the long run to be able to have 4 solid years of programming that's centered around their own personal development, personal and professional development that's going to prepare them for a choice of a life after graduation.
Awesome. Vinny, thanks so much for sharing that. We know from research that the more a student has a sense of purpose, the more engaged they are, the stronger they attend, the stronger GPA, the more likely they are to complete their post-secondary program. And it's great that you're already seeing that impact with your 9th and 10th graders as a result of our partnership. That's certainly makes my day, and it's what we want. Okay, some awesome questions in the chat. Roman, you want to come off mute and ask your question?
Sure. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
in California, the challenge that we have oftentimes is that the University of California and its 10 campuses, plus the California State University system and its 23 campuses, very much drive the curriculum in high schools. And they would say it's unintentional. They're just admitting students. They're just doing their job. But the reality is, students and parents all want to be eligible for state university systems. And so we've been having this kind of ongoing battle with UC, particularly UC admissions folks around, looking at durable skills as a supplemental consideration for admissions. And, I know there are other entities doing this. Just wondering, Tim, if you've had any conversations with university admissions folks and what their response has been.
Great question.
Yeah, so it's a really good question, and actually we're doing a convening with a group of community colleges next week in Austin, Texas, and Calbright is going to be representing California there. Mm-hmm. There are a couple things, so I'm going to try and get to your answer. I'm going to try and get to an answer to that question. There's been a couple of things that have sort of put the wind in our sails as it relates to durable skills, and I wish this was going a little bit faster, but it's the way of the world. A lot of school districts have developed what they call portraits of a graduate. You've probably seen versions of this all across the country where the community has come together. In every one that we've seen, it's reading, writing, arithmetic, table stakes. Of course, we want that. But then every other portrait of a graduate we've seen, there is some set of durable skills that is at the top line of what's in their portrait of a graduate. We want people to be able to collaborate, communicate. I have a colleague who endearingly calls all of these portraits flat Stanleys, because nobody's ever going to look like this portrait unless we transform the student's day. So it's great to have a portrait, and it's an aspirational portrait, right? The reason we created them is because the communities don't think that's how students look when they graduate. But what's great is the community is saying, this is what we want someone to look like. And we hope the university systems begin to respond to this, is like, look, we are actually creating young people who look like this at the end of their high school experience, and that they're valued by the university at their admissions at that point. The 4-year degrees programs have been the toughest to sway on this conversation. And they tend to believe that when somebody shows up at their university, they are going to develop these by virtue of, I have 2 kids who are just finishing, but walking across the quad, maybe we're not spending any real time teaching it in the classroom. But the other thing that happens with this is that employers tend to use a 4-year degree as a proxy for durable skills when hiring. Yeah. So any HR manager will tell you, if they have a stack of resumes that are 4-year degree and a stack of resumes that are not, the safest thing for the HR manager is to go to the pile that has the 4-year degree. You're not going to fire your HR manager for picking somebody who has a 4-year degree. What the real opportunity in front of us right now is to get the employers to value the other stack just as much with some kind of signal. And the question is, ultimately, being able to develop and then demonstrate these skills quickly to an employer. We're working with a company called EBSCO on trying to develop these types of assessments, where an employer, and what the employers say to us is, we look at a resume for 6 to 8 seconds. We need something that signals these skills in the same way that a 4-year degree does, that is validated by the employer, and we know that are high quality. And that's a really big thing that the system has to sort of move to. So I hope I'm getting to your question, but what they're going to ask is, coming out of high school, how do you signal to post-secondary? And coming out of post-secondary, how do you signal? And lots of the work at America Succeeds is, are we using the same lexicon? Do we have the same type of rubric of what someone should be able to know and do? And once you have all of that, I think that these things, that the pipeline, we can get those connected in the right way, so it's a lot less leaky. But there's still a good bit of work to be done, because as much as I love and spend my days talking about this group who is talking about durable skills today is still by far the minority. This wave is still building a little bit offshore before the universities ask for this, and before we start seeing it at scale of what we'd all love to see happen. Students develop and demonstrating these skills.
Yeah.
Just
a quick afterthought. So our partnership represents 100 plus school districts in California that have portraits of a graduate, and those 100 school districts serve 1/3 of the students in the state. Despite that, it's been a very slow slog for those districts to operationalize their portrait, because there's no pull from universities, there's really no pull to make that change faster. Yeah. And so that's what we're grappling with. And we see the university admissions criteria as a barrier to moving the work forward.
Yeah, I would love to take this offline, and based on the scale you've got there, see if there's anything that we can do. I would, so let's connect.
Yeah, I talked to Michael from your organization the other day. And
great.
But we can connect.
Yes, yeah. I'd love to.
Thanks.
Do you think it's a skill or a will issue, Roman? I wonder if districts don't know what to do, and therefore that's also a blocker.
We've got providers across the state. I mean, part of our partnership is dozens of providers who help with the journey to operationalize a portrait of a graduate. We've got lots of experts, and we have lots of great examples in the state. It's more will.
Yeah.
At this point,
that would be
because they see these counter tensions.
Yeah. I mean, that's where Vinny's example is powerful, where they have a portrait, or I forget what you call it, Vinny, but and then they said, okay, like, let's start by at least having one course that's aligned to our portrait and teaching us durable skills, and then we can assess the durable skills. So that's where we're helping with that, and we haven't done this yet, but we see a lot of opportunity, and this is like Tim's idea from a year ago or a year and a half ago. A lot of opportunity to take district specific portraits and then plug those into our our curriculum and then build custom assessments for large enough districts against that. We think that'd be powerful to show across. Great question. And I love the question of what should that look like at the university gate as well. That's the role that letters of recommendation have played a lot of the time too. Okay, Tim, do you want to just explain quickly how you are partnering with us and other companies to operationalize this? Because I think that's a powerful strategy and might be helpful context. And then DB, I'm coming your way.
Yeah, thanks. So at American Cities, we're a relatively small organization. We did all of this research and discovered this, and then the framework that we built, the PathSmith framework, our goal now is to get that out into the world. So we care deeply about two things: is the quality of how durable skills are being delivered, and the scale at which we can grow that so that more and more young people have the opportunity. I say young people, everybody's younger than me. The 30-year-olds who are taking a welding course, those folks too. So young people are writ large. But because we're small, our current model is we work with folks like Willow, or TNTP is another partner of ours, or Mary Lou Fulton Teacher College out of Arizona State University, who want to build something, whether it's teacher professional development. How do you teach teachers to teach durable skills? Or how do you embed durable skills into a curriculum? Or how do you do technical implementation that TNTP is really good at? So they license our framework and put it into their stuff. And we're sort of like an Intel inside. If you want to deliver really high quality durable skills, we believe using our framework is the best way to do it. So James has embedded our entire framework in his Willow platform. And so when individuals are using the tool, it's already baked in there. And it's sort of the same way we talked about how you ought to deliver it in the classroom. You shouldn't be able to separate durable skills from learning math or science or history. It's just embedded. And that's how James and these other programs have started to use this. And just a quick plug for some work that we're doing at the end of this year. One of the things we've heard from a lot of folks is the employers have got to tell us which of these skills, and our framework is completely built by employers, but we are getting ready to convene the U.S. Chamber, SHRM, the Business Roundtable, Manufacturing Institute, and the National Governors Association to build a trust mark. And it shouldn't just be our framework. It should be any framework that is built that is super high quality that an employer will trust should get some type of, think LEED certification or something like that, to say, use the good stuff when you go to make your other stuff. And we think that actually has a huge potential of sort of a waterfall effect from K-12 to post-secondary to how employers are going to use that signal when those employers say, just use something with high value, with a trust factor that we can use. And this comes directly from the fact that employers asked for badges or credentials back in the day. Well, the education system totally over-delivered. There are now literally over 1 million credentials in the market, truly over 1 million. And the employers are like, well, we have no idea what the good ones are or the bad ones. There's just 1 million of them in the space. So the concept is to try to put a trust mark on the durable skills work that the employers then say, we know what the high quality ones, it's got the badge, it's got the LEED certification. And that is something that we hope to have soon. But, you know, James built the PathSmith framework straight into the Willow stuff. And I think that has been our go-to-market strategy is to embed that. And what I'm going to do, sorry, I'm just monopolizing all of this. I am about to drop a tool into the chat. We worked with LCC, the Learner Centered Collaborative. Many of you may be familiar with them. This is an AI tool where any teacher from any grade can enter either their entire, they can enter their lesson plan for the day or their curriculum for the semester. You upload it and you say, embed durable skills into this. And it will fill it out for you and spit back your new lesson plan or your curriculum for the month or whatever it is. And it will put the durable skills in and ways to teach it and examples of using it just through this program. This is totally free to use for anybody. We're collecting feedback and it's getting better the more people use it. So I encourage everybody to take a look at that.
Cool. Thanks, Tim. Danelle, Purposeful Paths special guest alum back in the house. Thank you for being here.
No, this is an awesome conversation. Tim and I have never gotten a chance to meet, so it's great to like be on a webinar and Tim is there. So I'm going to offer two things, and it's driven by Roman's question. Roman's question made me go, okay, I got to say something. At some point, James, the next time there's like a conference convening or something of that nature that Tim would also be at, we should invite Roman, we should invite Vinny, anybody else is free to come. And I will tell you all a story about how sometime in the 2010s, I'm going to get in trouble for this, but at this point, I'm old enough that I don't care. Let's just say an organization, let's call them the University Council, create a project around measuring a set of characteristics that are important for success in college that would be an alternative to the SAT or the ACT. Let's be vague about this. And a guy named Neil Schmidt at Michigan State University began working on this and developed what I feel like is the precursor to what we all talk about when we think about durable skills, right? And they tested it out. And at the end of the day, the colleges and universities, and I'll stop the story here, basically were like, well, we're not going to be willing to pay for this if you're going to make us pay an additional fee on top of the SAT. And so the organization said, we're not going to do any more research on this, right? Fast forward, it's like 15 years later, right? And Tim, the great thing about the work that you're doing is that you've partnered with Lightcast to basically build out the evidence base that not only is this important and employers matter to it, but the extent to which it's important, which like organizations like NACE, like the National Association of College Employers, have been trying to get people, but they've not pulled enough of the data to basically like firmly make this argument. And now you're building all these resources and tools for schools to actually implement this stuff. I think the one thing that's missing, and the thing that I would like to like get Tim, I know you're working on more resources and you're working with EBSCO. Maybe you can share a little bit about that. And Vinny, from your end, the things that you all are doing to evaluate whether or not students have achieved these, capabilities, like, like in some ways, certain colleges and universities that I've worked with, but back when I was in higher ed, I was a dean for 7 years. The thing that kept them from taking that extra step of doing what Roman suggested was that the national academies came out with their paper, NACE had their paper on career readiness. There was the workplace skills group. I forget their acronym. Like I've actually got all this somewhere and so they were just like, whose framework do we follow? And nobody's framework included rubric, assessment, evaluation tool. So it was like, let's just keep using the SAT and the ACT and call it a day. If we could break that, if we could figure that out, how do we evaluate this and have the business folks say, yes, this is the evidence that we need. We buy this. Here's your check mark. I think you can get more colleges to go, okay, we've got something we can pull from and use. So Tim, Vinny, like what are you learning in this evaluation part of this work?
Take this
Vinny,
one
why don't
first.
you jump in on the classroom perspective and what you've learned thus far?
Yeah. Sorry, for us on our end, in terms of like evaluating these, it's something that's like we're also just building as we go as well too. But ultimately, I think there's like two levels of that. Obviously, it's like figuring out how to evaluate this in a level to show competency, that they're like meeting those skills or they're learning the things on that end. But it's also like you see it too in terms of how students show up differently, how they are more confident, how they are invested in their own journey more so. So I think there's like two layers to that. For us on our end, we've been working directly with Willow to build the curriculum out and make adjustments as we go along based on feedback and things that we're seeing from students and how they're interacting with the content, how they are giving us feedback back on like what's working well for them, what's not working well, to get a really accurate read by utilizing technology, utilizing the Willow platform to get the students like involved and invested in the work, but also like to be able to produce pretty accurate results that are centered around potential careers that they could be a good fit for based upon the assessments that we do within Willow that are they're I'm trying there was a word for it.
The psychometric.
Yes. That are really kind of like help them like really understand and dive into their own potential durable skills that they can like lean into or where they need to build upon. And ultimately for us too, and like what our goal is to be able to take away that data that we get from our evaluation and the work that we're doing with students and relay that to our post-secondary counselors and the junior and senior side of things to really be intentional about our one-on-one work that we do with students to really help build a well-rounded experience for what their post-secondary journey looks like. So a big part of it for us too is it's building as we go, but really utilizing that data to build a strong plan for our students during their 4 years that they're here with us within KIPP that will hopefully produce those results and make them competitive for not only really quality colleges and programs, but also the workforce and to be able to navigate an ever-changing world within that too. So yeah, definitely like our work with Willow has really been helpful for us on that end. And ultimately too, so much so that like we really want to bake it into our goals within KIPP Colorado as a whole, that this is something that we're working towards and being able to have a measurable item towards.
Vinny, I forget, have the students done the durable skills assessment yet? Because we have a psychometric assessment, which basically predicts people like you that think the way you do tend to be good at these things. And then we have a durable skills assessment that's separate where we measure the durable skills on the rubric that Tim described earlier. Have they done that part yet, or have they not gotten there yet? I forget.
I'm checking right now, checking the
Jamie probably knows. Jamie?
They have.
Okay.
Yes.
And so that's like a first dipstick, and then we can like dipstick again over time. And that's not yet specific to the KIPP portrait yet. It's a more comprehensive view of the durable skills. The 10 inner wheel. What do you call those, Tim? Like the macro skills?
Those are the core competencies.
Core competencies. And honestly, like it's early days for us, Danelle. We're probably like a B- on this in terms of like how valid it is.
Hey, we got to start somewhere, James. Do not downplay what you just said. Don't B- this. Come on.
But I mean, I think that's probably honest take. But we're super interested. Like one of my favorite questions is there's a case study where a student has to email their principal and make a pitch for to start a new club. And then our AI grades the quality of the email, and that's their written communication, durable skill, and like self-advocacy. So like there's a lot more to do there, and we're just kind of scratching the surface on it. But it's a cool question. All right, sorry, I jumped in. Tim, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I love the framing of this, right? The image that jumps into my mind is there's a push and a pull that it needs to happen. And the employers are so important in this. And so this movement to skills-based hiring that you see around the country. So 21 states have removed the 4-year degree as a requirement. A bunch of private companies are doing the same, but they're stuck. They have these resumes on their desk and they're not sure what to do with them. The signaling is not where we want it yet, for sure. Again, there's a lot to do on that front. And then also in education, what gets measured gets done, and there's not a great measurement for these durable skills. The downside is that the way that we raised our kids, or the way that we were raised, we were expected to develop these durable skills and nobody actually measured them, right? So that's not the reason not to do them. It is, we've got to start embedding them, and the assessments are going to catch up and they will be there. And as long as they are high quality and they can signal that you are capable, then you have to do the longitudinal studies. If it says you're good at critical thinking, growth mindset, collaboration, you really have to be good at those things. And so there's still quite a bit of work to do on that front. But it's all coming, and this demand and this pent up recognition of why these skills are so important. There's been some statistics that you guys can Google. 60% of Gen Zs have been fired within the first couple of months of being hired and it's across the board because they don't have these durable skills. Like, there's so many career preparation and career readiness programs, and their goal is, did our kid get a job? In today's economy, you can get the job. The downside is you can't keep it if you don't have these durable skills. We are working with a partner called Nemo that has an AI interactive tool, and employers are starting to use this. So one example that they do is they've created a scenario for the manufacturing space, and it simulates you're coming into your shift and the other shift is there. It's a shift handoff, and the AI pops up and it's all voice, and it says, how did your shift go? And the other person says, shift went great. I had a warning bell go off, but I got to run get my kids from school. You got it. Well, wait, which code went off? Oh, well, it was this code. Well, I got to go get my kids. But hang on, what did the code say? And who should I talk to if that code goes off again? And you go through this whole scenario. So one, do you know what happens? Do you know the technical part of it? But two, are you asking good questions? Are you thinking critically about how the code went off? And then it gives you an overview of how the individual performed against the durable skills rubric and also against the technical skills. And what's so cool is that managers can use this for training simulation. So if you've already got an incumbent workforce, then they need training. But they've also said to us, so we talked to Marriott recently, and Marriott said, if I could use some tool that would signal whether somebody would be better at front of house versus back of house, it would save Marriott millions. Because I hire them, somebody comes to the front desk and says, Mr. Taylor, we lost your reservation, but I don't know what to do. They can't stay at the front desk, but they may be great in events, but Marriott doesn't know to move them, and they fire them from the front desk. It ends that career pathway. That person isn't any better off, and Marriott just goes back to the pool and tries to hire again without much signal on whether they'd be better front of house or back of house. What's so cool is that this momentum is building, and that we are going to have to develop the products, tools, and services that do not yet exist to do so much of what that you were asking about. How do you teach it? How do you develop it? How do you upskill it? How do you assess it? And those products, tools, and services don't exist, but we've got a framework that you can build them off of, which is the first step.
What do you think, DB?
Oh, I love the direction this stuff is going in. And just the question becomes, Tim can't do this alone, right? Vinny can't do this alone. Willow can't do this alone. Like, part of the challenge is there's a lot of noise out there, right? At Design Lab has their micro credential. Like, I could go on. Like, a lot of people are working around this topic, and I don't know what it's going to take to get everybody in a room. I don't think we all have to have the same framework. Like, as you know, Jane, at Prelude, we have a framework. But we all have to come to some level of agreement on what are the most important things to measure. Because like Tim said, what gets measured is what kind of gets done, right? So if that's the case, at some point, we're going to have to wrestle with that. And that's the hardest thing to wrestle with, trust me, because 2010 was a long time ago, and here we are and still haven't figured it out. It may take someone bigger than our organizations to incentivize this to happen.
Let me
that resonates. Go ahead, Tim.
Let's take the opportunity. I see that Judy Goldstein from ASA is on that's in the audience. ASA is our largest funder. They have been extraordinary in doing this, and I think seeing rooms full of people having this conversation right now is accelerating the pace of these conversations.
Totally.
They have been with us from the start of this, and we used to talk to 10 people in a room around durable skills and nothing, right? It was new. Nobody had heard the term. we now go to these conferences, and at ASA and South by Southwest and others, there are multiple conversations going around durable skills, and it's not just America Succeeds that is leading those conversations. That's huge for the sector and for young people. So this is a big club, and we need a whole lot more people to join.
I think that's well stated, Tim. And I just don't want to lose what both you and Danelle shared, which is the complexity. Employers aren't going to get on board with this if it's overly complex. So they want it, but in our million credentials, we have not helped create clarity around what's most important. And so doing this more in community, which I think is what you're advocating for, Danelle, resonates for me. And Tim, you all are leading the charge on this and have developed a really solid, really great tool to be the backbone of a lot of different use cases for this. And there are others. All right, we've got time for a last one, fast one. There's a lot of questions in the chat. Punita, am I saying that correctly? Do you want to come off mute and have one last quick comment and question?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm on a plane, but
just
cool. Really trying to
love that.
Just really trying to I do think this measurement question is a big one, and we're all impatient for it. But I think that part of it is getting to the rubric, even if it's not fully validated and vetted and tested. But what's the progression of development? What's evidence that we can look at and have in common? And like, how can you use that to connect across sectors? I think that I'm just really hungry for that part.
And that's where, I mean, you should go deep on the Pat Smith rubric. I will share that as a follow-up email with everyone on the call today. So you have that as a resource, because that rubric, I forget what Ryan, our head of product, shared with you, Tim, exactly. But I think after he looked at that for the first time, but he looked at that and he's a really, he's an educator for the past 2 decades. And he was like, oh my God, I've been waiting my whole career for something like this. And Tim didn't describe this in detail, but he spent weeks with employers and practitioners and head of L&Ds around the table developing this rubric as the starting place and then validating from there. So it's really, really good and worth checking out. Tim and Vinny, in the last minute or 30 seconds each, what is one thing you hope folks take away from this conversation?
But for me is the of really leaning into the durable skills for our young people. It's incredibly important. The world out around us right now is changing so fast, and we really have to really think outside the box and really step out of our comfort zone with working with students and advocating for students and advocating for within big systems to be able to make changes to better prepare our students for the world outside the walls of a school. So we need everyone. We need everyone like leaning in on this, and we need to collaborate together and utilize our resources to actually create some meaningful change. And there's a lot of really awesome people in this room that we're able to do that together. So yes.
Awesome. All right, Tim, 10 seconds to close this out.
Yeah, look, I think the biggest thing here is that the definition of career readiness has moved on us, and it's going to continue. It used to be you'd show up on day one ready to work, and now it is you have to show up on day one ready to adapt. And there's a whole bunch of durable skills that go in with that, and we've got to get kids ready for that world. And it wasn't the world that we entered, so we've got to think it's got to be a whole different framing that we bring to this to get them prepared. Awesome. Thanks everybody for what you're doing. I put my email in the chat. I will respond to anybody who reaches back out. Thank you for the opportunity, James, in pulling this group together. This is love talking about this.
A lot of fun. Thanks so much to you both for being here, and to everyone for joining us and all the work you're doing across the country. Great to see a lot of good friends and meet some new ones. Thanks, everybody.